Global agility in Ukraine. Let's try a globally agile take on the Ukraine crisis. Now, geography and history teach us that the fulcrum of Russian security is well west of Russia. Once you're in Russia, it's rolling hills all the way to Moscow. Hence a lot of things, but to mention one, Russian concern, a vital concern with buffer zones. Now, shifting to global agility. Global agility can teach us some more. And let's look at some key aspects of human identity, aspects that are defined similarly and differently by different cultures. Nation, ethnicity, and war. And let's not dwell here and now on the tensions between Russian nationalism and ethnicity under the Russian Empire and during the Soviet days. Let's focus instead on how conflict and war are defined differently by different cultures. P.S. You can also get to where we're going by reading the national security doctrines of the U.S. and Russia. In the sweep of the history of wars across cultural divides, we see that symmetrical warfare is rather the exception, occurring in that unstable state where two belligerents are roughly equal in size and technology, and that usually doesn't even last past the end of the war when one side is lost. More often than not, one side's predominant power was met asymmetrically by fighting according to different rules of engagement using different tools or weapons. Terrorism is a great example of this. It's also a great example of psychological warfare waged through the media. Another example of this might be how in Ukraine, Putin's Russia, faced with the collapse of its buffer zones, is already fighting, in quotes, a rather successful Cold War, a war that simmers to a boil but doesn't have to boil over to the point where bullets fly. We're all asking, will Putin invade Ukraine? As if that is when the war will start. What if he has already started a war of the psychological warfare variety, and the shooting war is just an option? What if he refuses to come out and fight? Will he be able to win enough to declare victory and get out? That would explain the British revelation that Putin is trying to install a puppet president in Kiev, and the idea that we are in an undeclared psychological war seems to explain why the Ukrainian president refuses to raise the alarm when he speaks to Ukrainians. You can choose to not react to a psychological provocation. It also explains Navalny's comment about the West falling into Putin's elementary traps, just by giving Putin a global stage to perform on. All that said, it's right and necessary to counter Putin's military moves with military countermoves. It's just insufficient. Putin has framed the terms of the conflict, and you either have to beat him on those terms or turn the table on him by changing the terms. And that goes to the heart of differing cultural definitions of conflict and war.